Imagine a country caught in a storm where every decision can lead to peace or push it further into chaos. This is Myanmar, a place with a rich past and a troubled present. In Myanmar, different groups with their own languages, cultures, and dreams are all fighting for something bigger. But it's not just their fight. The whole world is watching, waiting to see what happens next. What's happening here could change everything we know about peace and safety across the globe. As we peel back the layers of this conflict, remember, the story of Myanmar is more than a tale of power. It's about the resilience of its people and the hope for peace in a place that has seen too much war. You don't want to miss this.
Myanmar is now run by a general after the military deposed the government led by Aung San Suu Kyi.
The 2021 coup and its aftermath. In February 2021, Myanmar faced a huge turning point that shook the entire country. The military, known as the Tatmadaw, took control, saying they were not happy with how the elections had gone. This wasn't the first time the military had taken over, but it was a big shock for many people in Myanmar who had hoped for a more democratic government. Can you imagine? Right after the coup, lots of people across the country stood up to say they didn't agree with the military taking over. Peaceful protests filled the streets, with people from all walks of life asking for democracy and freedom. But the military responded with heavy force, trying to silence these voices. Seeing the military's harsh response, many people felt that they had no choice but to defend themselves and their rights. This led to the formation of the People's Defense Forces, PDF, groups of ordinary citizens who decided to take a stand. These new groups, though not as experienced or equipped as traditional armies, showed that the desire for democracy ran deep in Myanmar's heart. During this chaotic time, a group called the National Unity Government, NUG, came together, made up of leaders who opposed the military coup. They said, "We represent the people's choice," and called for everyone, including the ethnic armed groups, to join forces against the military. The NUG aimed to create a united front, hoping that together they could be strong enough to challenge the military's rule and bring back democracy. But uniting all these groups hasn't been easy. Each group has its own view of what Myanmar should look like and how it should be run. Plus, the military has been very powerful for a long time, making it a tough challenge for anyone trying to bring change. This period after the coup has been really tough for Myanmar. Violence, fear, and uncertainty have affected many lives. Yet, the people's spirit and their fight for a better future continue, showing the world their resilience and hope despite the odds. As we look at this situation, it's clear that the aftermath of the 2021 coup has deeply impacted Myanmar, setting off a chain of events that are still unfolding. The people of Myanmar are at a crossroads, fighting for the soul of their country. Now let's look at the history of Myanmar to find out where the roots in the conflicts of today have come from. Myanmar is known for its stunning landscapes and rich history, has always been a place of incredible diversity. This country is home to many different ethnic groups, each with its own unique culture and language. But this diversity, while a source of strength, has also led to challenges. For a long time, these groups have been trying to live together under one flag, but it hasn't been easy. The story of Myanmar's struggle goes way back. Once a rich kingdom, it later became part of the British Empire, which changed the country in many ways. After a long fight, Myanmar finally got its independence in 1948. But instead of peace, what followed was a series of conflicts. Many ethnic groups, like the Karen people, wanted to govern themselves, not be ruled by a government far away in the city. They felt their way of life, their very identity, was at risk. This longing for self-rule led to the formation of armed groups, each standing up for their people's rights. These groups have been fighting for a long time, seeking recognition and autonomy, a chance to make their own decisions about how they live. Now, let's take a closer look at how these ancient desires and modern challenges have come together in today's Myanmar, shaping a conflict that's more than just a battle on a map. It's a fight for the heart and soul of a diverse nation. Do you know what we are fighting for? Your attention. Please subscribe to us now. We won't disappoint you. The landscape of armed groups. In Myanmar today, there's a complex web of groups, each with their own armies, fighting for the people's rights and their vision of the future. These groups are known as Ethnic Armed Organizations, EAOs, and they come from the many different ethnic communities that make up the country. Let's look at some of these key players. First, we have the Karen National Union, KNU, one of the oldest groups fighting for the Karen people. They've been around since shortly after Myanmar gained independence, seeking more control over their land and the right to preserve their way of life. Then there's the Kachin Independence Army, KIA, representing the Kachin people in the north. Like the KNU, they've been in a long struggle for recognition and autonomy, fighting to protect their culture and resources in a region rich with natural beauty and valuable minerals. We also see newer groups like the Arakan Army, AA, fighting for the Rakhine State's people. They're part of a younger generation of EAOs, using both modern tactics and social media to push their cause. It's crazy, right? All these groups? But we ain't finished. And it's not just these groups. There are many others, each with their own stories, goals, and areas where they operate. After the 2021 military coup, the situation got even more complicated. Many people across Myanmar, frustrated and angry at the military takeover, started forming their militias, known as the People's Defense Forces, PDF. These new fighters joined the long-standing ethnic armies, united in their opposition to the military's rule, but varied in their experience and resources. The National Unity Government, NUG, formed in opposition to the military coup, has been trying to bring all these diverse groups together. They're working towards a common goal: to challenge the military's power and bring democracy back to Myanmar. It's a massive task, as these groups have their own long histories, issues, and deep-seated mistrust to overcome. This landscape of armed groups shows just how complex the situation in Myanmar is. It's not just a story of good versus evil. It's a tapestry of different peoples, each with their own hopes for what Myanmar should be. Next up, we'll explore what the biggest implication for the entire country and the world has been. Keep watching. Implications and international response. The ongoing conflict in Myanmar doesn't just affect the people living there. It has ripple effects that touch neighboring countries and even the wider world. The fighting has led to a humanitarian crisis, with thousands of people forced to flee their homes. Many have sought refuge in neighboring countries, creating a challenging situation for those nations and international aid organizations trying to help. The instability in Myanmar also worries countries interested in the region's peace and security. There's concern that prolonged conflict could disrupt trade routes, affect the economy, and even lead to more serious regional conflicts. Countries around the world have responded in different ways. Some, like the United States and members of the European Union, have imposed sanctions on Myanmar's military leaders, trying to pressure them to restore democracy. They've also called for the release of political prisoners and a return to peace talks. However, not everyone agrees on the best approach. Some countries are more cautious, worried that too much pressure could make the situation worse or affect their own interests in the region. Myanmar's neighbors, like Thailand, India, and China, have their own concerns and priorities, leading to a range of responses from strong condemnation to a more measured approach. As we watch how the situation unfolds, the question remains: can international efforts help steer Myanmar back to a path of peace and democracy, or will the challenges prove too great? The implications of Myanmar's conflict are far-reaching, and the international response will play a crucial role in determining the future of the Southeast Asian nation and its people. Remember, the story of Myanmar is still being written, and each of us can play a part in supporting the quest for peace. Now you see our next video on the screen. Make sure to watch it. I highly recommend it. Give it a chance for at least 3 minutes. Thank you, and see you soon.